I wish good things to you who's watching this. I am Alexey, and with me today is a special guest, Matt Tucker, with whom you may also be familiar by his screen name statmatt, who is a member of Team UK and one of the main organizers of the Mind Sports Olympiad, including the Mind Sports Olympiad Carcassonne tournaments, in which I and many of my viewers participated. Hi, Matt.
Hello there, Alexei. It's great to join you on the stream today, and welcome everybody to the Alternative Eurovision channel.
Exactly, yeah. Obviously, though, our stuff is way better, I hope, because today I think we'll be witnessing the second most interesting match of the week. The most interesting match of the week is tomorrow, more about later. Also, we have a lot of stuff to talk about with Matt, about Team UK, about the Mind Sports Olympiad, and some other things. So if you do have questions to our special guest in the chat, do let me know. Okay, hi Melvin, hi Edgar, hi Helge, hi P-chan. So, let's do a bit of a pre-match analysis. I've prepared some stats. We're gonna start with just by looking at the tournament table. I guess I should scroll down so that we see France and Chile are in direct competition for third. So France is currently technically third and Chile is currently technically fourth on tiebreakers, but that doesn't matter. So Team Portugal in Group D looks like they're having the top spot. Then what else? There's Argentina with 3 wins, and either France or Chile is going to be on 3 wins as well. See, there's this big cluster of 5 teams competing for the 2 remaining spots, and it really does seem to me that whoever wins the match qualifies.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be a big result for whoever wins, and they'll put themselves into a fantastic position to advance to the knockout stage. And the loser will still have a chance; they can still recover it. I'm still hoping Team UK's got a chance of making the knockout stage, of course, but it will require a bit of perfect results, I think, from now until the end of the tournament.
Yeah, and I think it also requires that other teams are going to play in a certain way, but UK is certainly not out of it.
Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Alrighty, well, we will be watching UK's match tomorrow, without Matt this time, but I'll have another special guest for that in all likelihood. So, before we start, I wanted to show you some stats. Actually, before I show you the stats, like, do you think there's a favorite to this match, Matt, or do you think it's entirely 50-50?
I would say I'd be backing Chile tonight. They've got a better strength and depth in their team compared to France. Obviously, we know France have the master Viv, who's probably the strongest player in the whole match, but I'm going to back Chile. They do have Vainaria, I'm not quite sure how you pronounce it, but he is the Mind Sports Olympiad current champion at Carcassonne. So I'm hoping he does well, partly because he's in my fantasy team as well, but he's kind of representing the MSO, and shame that it's a good competition, I think.
Yeah, so you actually, well, the numbers back you as well. So you can see some stats on the screen. This is the ELO calculator that predicts the match outcome, and according to that, with Chile has like a 3 to 4 percentage point edge. So the odds are 51.6% in Chile's favor and 46.4% in France's favor. Interesting ELO-wise, so first of all, every player is above 500, which is actually quite rare in this tournament to have both lineups of 500 plus. It seems that both teams are saying, you know what, never mind the team spirit or giving everybody chance or whatever. We're just going to put the 2 ELO leaders against each other. Just the best.
Well, it's kind of a crucial match now, isn't it? You have to win, really. So, yeah, both teams have to go for it this stage.
And interestingly, if you have a look at the average ELO, it's almost identical. Chile's average ELO is like
Oh, wow.
1 ELO points exactly higher than France. But of course, the average ELO doesn't matter so much as the ELOs in each individual pair. And interestingly, as you can see, of course, Viv, one of the highest rated players on the platform, and generally has his Chilean opponent, Claudio Jorquera, quite heavily outrated. But on all other boards, the Chileans are the slight rating favorites.
So 4-1, we're saying 4-1 Chile.
Well, interesting.
No, I think it'll be a 3-2. It'll be
It
a
has
3-2.
to be. It has to be a 3-2. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Because obviously, these slight ELO advantages. Well, first of all, if we're just looking just at the rating, these slight ELO advantages, they only translate to a slightly higher win chance for the duel. You can also see the game odds and the duel odds. If we're on the screen, I'll keep this on the screen for a couple more minutes. Just for those of you who like numbers as much as I like myself, feel free to watch and study this. But of course, also ELO is not everything. So it's interesting that Vaineria Jorim Meya is actually the lowest rated player on Chile's lineup. But some would argue that he's best. Well, I'd say he's second best actually on the Chilean lineup after Diego Acevedo with the screen MGDLK. So I would expect actually Vaineria to be quite a heavy favorite on his table 3 against Walward.
It's funny how the ELO sort of fluctuate, isn't it? And it can be, just by looking at this on paper, you might think that Vaineria is the weaker player in the Chile team, but I would definitely agree with you, but I don't think he is. It'll be interesting. All these matches are going to be close, all these duels are going to be close, and it's going to make for a tight match, which hopefully will have lots of drama tonight.
So we actually have already discussed with Matt and decided that we're just simply going to watch table number 1 for now. Even though the French player has his opponent heavily outrated, as you see, Claudio Jorquera also a strong player, above 600. Then I think what this match will come down to is actually table number 4, where Brian Townsend with the screen name HT Bry will be playing the player with the aggressive screen name La Hache, which in French means the axe.
I see. That's we got an accent all right, is it?
Yes. I double checked this one. Maybe in the other stream, my interpretation were I took some liberty, let's say. So
Fair enough.
we have some news from a German championship, by the way. Vihes says that Navarre 79, Ralph Querfurt, is the champion of Germany again. That's the person who won 4 world championships 15 years ago, and now they will be back in Herne, Germany this October.
Exciting. Do we know how many German championships they've won?
Probably
more than 4.
I guess probably more than 4. Well, now at least 5 we know, and maybe a couple more.
Yeah. Well, it's great to see that they still play Carcassonne competitively after like almost 15 years, and still at a high level too, clearly.
Yeah, exactly. And also they defeated Chris Perut, that's Meeple Wizard, in the finals.
Oh wow, a real heavyweight match.
Exactly, yeah. So that was quite formidable opposition that we faced. Okay, time to remove the stats. If you want more numbers, then you can just rewatch the stream and pause. And we're now going to the match. Start like refreshing and stuff. So we agreed on Viv. And of course, others, do let us know who you want to watch after this. I see my chat has mostly Chilean fans. And any French fans in the chat?
They're all busy watching Eurovision, so no.
Yeah, well then this puts France at a disadvantage. They have less support. Yeah. I guess we have to just keep refreshing. There's no other choice. Okay, it's 1 minute. It's 1 minute past, and they have started. And the French
the BJ
player...
interface is a bit poor, I think, for the for the lobby stuff.
Yeah. Maybe play strategy interface is
We
better.
can discuss that later if you want.
Yeah. We'll talk a little bit. Okay, so the opponents exchange good luck wishes and some standard moves follow. The French player has the opening advantage, plays the raised meeple, plays the red meeples, scores, well, not scores, but starts a 2-point road. Then the Chilean player immediately takes a 4-point city, but this 4-point city comes with a bit of compensation for red because this rodent will, of course, belong to the French player, and now he almost finished his 6-point road. It's now a 5-point road. He'll soon get a meeple back. In the meantime, he also started a 2-point city over here, which could continue like this, and it does. So 2 more rhombus-shaped, well, 2 more triangle-shaped tiles, and we're going to get a nice flower city, as Daniel Chard, the author of the Book of Carcassonne, calls them. So Claudio tries to prevent this, start a new city over here, of course looking to either block the square or perhaps even connect to the city like this, and all that will happen whilst he will be adding his monastery points. So green has this juicy monastery, red also immediately takes a monastery in the same place, controlling the city meeple. Green is now trying to finish his city, but unsuccessfully because a fantastic tile for red. He now not only secures his city on the left, but also tries to share the city at the bottom, and it looks like the red player is headed towards an advantage.
Yeah, so that was a great tile to draw, really, wasn't it, for red? And he'll be hoping to complete his city and probably drop a farmer, I'm guessing. That's what I'd probably be doing.
I would expect the French player to do so. I've noticed that Viv does quite like early farmers, and also, I mean, this field in all likelihood will have at least 6 points, 9 if green gets a splitter, and there are just so many green squares.
Yeah, and basically the entire map is the field, so it's got a lot of potential.
So interestingly, speaking about this city potential, Claudio had sacrificed an entire crossroads just to create a connection platform or a blocking platform to Red City. And just before Red drew the tile that would have fit into this square to complete Red City's, green managed at the last moment to sneak into that. And unless Red draws a divider to separate these two meeples, green should be able to connect over here. Oh, and look at that! Red was trying to steal the city at the bottom, but as a result, green will be trying to steal this city. There were 3 tiles remaining to fit into the square at the time of green actually doing this, but red immediately drew one of them, so there are only 2 tiles remaining to fit into this square, and this will be absolutely a key tile. There's around a 75% chance still that green manages to place a tile over here and eat up the city meeple and take over the city completely and continue for about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 16 points or even 18 points. In the meantime, this city bar red is also doing quite well, only 1 tile available from completion. And again, Claudio is trying to use a row tile to create a connection platform, but he will not be able to connect with this tile. He will be able to only block, which I probably wouldn't do if I were Claudio. I would just score 4 points for the city over here or over here. But let's see what the Chilean player decides.
Yeah, I'd probably go on the left and be hoping to constrict maybe the Red City more. but he's doing what you said he shouldn't do.
Yeah, exactly. I still stand by it, even if it works, because there's still 3 tiles that fit over here. And look, I guarantee you, like now Viv's going to draw a crossroad or something, score 4 points for the road. No, he doesn't. He still does not draw a defense. He probably can, or he could still defend his city indirectly by placing his road like this, so that would work quite nicely for him. But let's see what he does. In the meantime, maybe he doesn't care so much about finishing his city because he has a nice farm of lots of prospects. While we were talking, he finished another monastery, started a new monastery over here. He's pre-building a 3-point road next to a monastery. So I'd say Red is doing quite well, apart from the fact that there's still these 2 critical tiles that fit into this square that will give Green a lot of points.
Yeah. I think I'll be going for a passive defense there on his city, and hoping that I can either save it later or just draw the completion tile before he gets killed. And yeah, that looks like what he's done.
The French player does indeed seem to agree with you. Well, I guess there are many reasons for that. You're taking away curves from your opponent. So let's say if Green draws a curve, it no longer goes over here and no longer can complete this block. And on the other hand, you're preserving crossroads. So there's still 4 tiles that give Red the defense like this with extra value, and this is exactly what happened. So not only he scores 4 points, but also he makes sure that there's still 3 tiles remaining to fit into this space, and it will be completely blockable. But the question is, will it matter? Because the critical situation has quickly resolved. Claudio Jorquera just drew the key tile and scored 18 points for the city. So Green is doing really, really well. And also look at this fantastic farmer by Green. That was a great move, because he's now trying to connect to the field with tempo, right? Because Red will be forced to draw this tile over here that finishes his city. And then this meeple will be automatically in the field. And let's say if Red chooses not to complete the city while Green says, okay, well, you know, more city points for me. I mean, or fewer city points for you.
Yeah. And it's already on a 3-point farm, and which is probably going to be 6, even if that city doesn't complete. So, yeah, it's a nice insurance option.
Well, just as you said, 6 points, right? The French player now drew a fantastic tile to make sure that it is not 6 points. He's actually starting another city over here and closing down this farmer. And, you know, there's some scenarios how this city turns into a ruin, right? And then this farmer scores only 3 points.
But he still absolutely wants to draw that tile, right? Because he can also pick up a lovely 6-point road as well now when he can close his city. So it's just super valuable, the dagger.
Absolutely, yes. So you see, he drew with this tile. Not only did he start a new city and close down the field, he also pre-built this 6-point road, to the point that I'm wondering, like, maybe if you're Green, maybe if you get that tile, you just put this tile here yourself and give your opponent the city points, just so that your opponent doesn't get the extra 6 road points. Is that something that you'd ever do in anticipation, Matt?
It's a very difficult call to make, isn't it? I think it also depends on when you draw that tile. It's sort of the sort of thing where you might consider not doing it in the first 1 or 2, and then maybe if it was the very last one, you then have to make a decision. And look, he does draw one, so we're now considering it. I mean, move of the week a few weeks ago was someone completing someone else's city, wasn't it? I think it was week 1.
That's true. But Claudio, as we were talking, drew the exact tile we were talking about, and he says, you know what? I don't want to be in the move of the week segment. I just want to win the game normally. And he did not do that. He just finished his own city, and, well, he still preserves the, 25% chance of the city simply never being completed. And maybe if he draws this tile again, then he can think again, okay, maybe now I do this.
I
mean, I can understand
that move also... It also depends what else the other options are, right? So he was able to take 4 points and also slightly constrict Red's city ruin on the right-hand side. So it was a good move to do anyway, to do what he did. But yeah, on a future turn, he might find he has less good options for that tile, and therefore the number 1 option becomes closing the opponent's city and connecting the farm and taking the road.
I'm surprised how fast both players are playing. Of
Yeah.
course, there were some like relatively obvious moves such as quick points, but it does seem that this sort of okay, another decision. So will he do it now? Will he do it now? Again, Green can either no, he decides not to do it. He decides he wants to draw all three tiles. He wants to draw the last one as well. He goes for maximum greed. But if he draws the third tile, I know this will put the French player on tilt so badly, so badly.
I think he should complete it, to be honest, Green, if he draws it again, because it's worth about, I think it's 8 points to the city. But then if you get 6 points for the road, you've almost made that back, and the farm connection could be crucial. But it depends on how risky the farm is and what scouts is on the farm, I think, at that point.
Yeah, actually, now that I think about this, it's absolutely in Green's interest to complete the city, right?
Yeah.
Because this will give him exactly. It's like it will give him -8 for the city, but +6 for the road and +6 for the farm. So essentially, it's a +4 move. But then, if you think about it, I understand why he didn't go there, like because he extracted this +4 elsewhere.
Yeah, exactly. It's sort of an interesting thing to consider when there's two of them left, because then you're like, well, I can get this 6 point road now, whereas the opponent might be able to get it later. But now we're down to the last one. It literally is, well, if I don't put it there, if I get it and I don't put it there as green, then red's never going to put it there because it's the last one.
In the meantime, Green is blocking Red City, and there's 0 tiles that fits into this square now, so this city will be in fact turned into a ruin. Interesting is that in the mini battle, sort of Red is still winning with 5 points for the city versus 3 points for this farmer, but will that even matter? Because look at this, 24 points ahead on the scoreboard, all as a result of this city. And despite some of Viv's efficient play, he did complete this 9-point monastery eventually. He did complete this 3-point road that we talk about. He did draw a bunch of quick points. It didn't matter because Green managed to build a nice city over here. Ooh, and Green is going for maybe a risky and greedy play. He's trying to unify all the field, but I doubt that this actually benefits him. Yeah, technically he gets 3 more field points, but now this is actually the hope for Red, because now that the field has become big, it's already 15 points, potentially 21, and everything else, then Red can actually use his remaining move to take the field over. However, I was so surprised. Red actually finished his city himself, and he let in Green into the farm, but he wants, I assume his idea is to just simply try and take it over with 2 meeples.
Yeah, it's a... Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised at how quickly they play. I mean, I'm known for being a really slow player, so I can barely keep up with this blitz play we're getting tonight.
I love this move. I absolutely love this move here by Claudio. He doesn't finish his road, but he simply takes a 5-point road, and more importantly, this move was not about the road. It was about preventing the field connection, because this was an easy field connection spot. Well, there are still field connection spots.
Yeah, Viv would have taken it. Viv would have taken it this turn, wouldn't he?
Exactly, yeah, he would have gone over here, and he would have not taken 6 points for the city. He would have gone for the farm. Now, he can still place a field meeple, so I can see 2 connection spots. One is over here, but this is through a straight road or something like this, or through a curve. But this is kind of blockable, right? Because it's still possible to block that square. Another is possibly over here, hoping for a curve, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1 curve still remaining. We're going to double check that. I'm just circling all the curves on the screen. I think I missed one. I missed this one over here at the bottom. So there actually are no curves remaining, so it's not possible to connect this meeple through the outside. Let's just double check for daggers. I do believe there's one left-handed dagger remaining, and that's exactly what he needs, right? So he can go over here for the 50-50, which I think is... it's blockable. It's blockable, but it's still possibly worth the risk. Well, let's see if he actually does that. I guess we need to help the French player brainstorm. So what would be your winning ideas here for Viv in this position?
Well, I think we agreed that he basically has to has to at least equalise the field, if not get 2 on. So what you're suggesting seems like a good option. This was also another option. Maybe that's better, depending on what's left. And interestingly, had he gone on the right, like you suggested, he would have been very sad right now because Claudio would just complete his road and say no to that farmer.
Yes, and now Claudio has an interesting choice. He can either complete one of his roads, or does he even need to do this? Because he can actually simply go over here and block this farmer, because there are no straight lines remaining, because there are no starting tiles remaining, and because there are no T-shaped crossroads remaining. So there's nothing that resembles a straight line that fits over here. There is still this one dagger that we're talking about, and placing this tile over here would make sure that red is not able to draw that dagger.
Yeah, there's still also a very outside possibility that farmer could sneak in through the underside. I haven't worked out what tiles are left precisely, but theoretically it could happen, right? If there's any what I call vanilla caps with just field.
Oh, that's so cute. You call them vanilla caps.
Yeah.
Yeah. It does appear that all of them are out, but oh my god, I'm going to abolish. I'm going to use this terminology now. Vanilla caps. It's so nice. Okay, Matt, can you share like any other Carcassonne lingo specific to the United Kingdom?
I don't even know if that was used by the rest of the team, to be honest. It's just what I call them. I think my brother calls them now that as well. My girlfriend refers to the triangle pieces as pizzas. She thinks they look a bit like pizzas. So you got pizzas and pizzas with rows. Is there anything else? I'm not sure.
Well, the Mexicans are on the same page with you. They call these tiles Doritos, and in fact,
yeah.
Doritos is something that has become quite used widely internationally.
Yeah.
I also have used this in my streams as well.
I heard the giraffe neck one, which I quite liked, the sort of tubular extender one piece.
Mm-hmm. I guess you could also, if you want to be like specific to English, you could call them a turtleneck, like these sweaters.
Yeah, true.
10, 9. Okay, so Claudia just decides to take 2 points. Aha! I think it was a move just to prevent a loss on time. While Viv got a fantastic monastery for him for 7 points, and actually it looks like the game is not over for him. It's completely not over. If he manages to complete the field connection, I think he can actually win this. He doesn't have to win, he just have to equalize. So for example, as Viv, do you start a new city over here, or do you go there and drop a farmer, hoping to connect through a Dorito? Because 1, 2, 3, 4, there's one Dorito remaining, I believe. Let me just double check. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, he doesn't do this. But he takes this farmer. So he gives his opponent 2 points, but he wants to take this 6-point field. But Claudio wins the coin flip. He draws the tile that goes into here, and there's no other tile that goes over here. But wait a second, doesn't he create a field connection through some sort of curvoid? And he did. That was too dangerous. That was, I think, too reckless of the Chilean player. Had Viv drawn something else, he could have actually connected into the field through this Dorito with a curve. So maybe a little bit of sloppiness there from Claudio. No, he absolutely was giving his opponent some chances, because had Viv received these tiles in a different order, then this field connection with a farmer like this through the right would have been possible. But all is still well for the Chilean player, because Viv does not manage to connect into the field. He takes a monastery, and this monastery will not be enough. We will not be refreshed, but this will not be enough. And we have our first upset of the day.
Wow. Yeah. I don't know if they thought that he could perhaps win without the farm, or what. But yeah. He seemed to try and score points elsewhere with some monasteries at the end, didn't he? And just taking that 6-point farm at the bottom. as you say, I don't think it's enough. The farm isn't humongous. I think it's, is it 18 points? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, it's 21 points, that main farm. But I think it's going to be too much.
Humongous or not, it does seem like the game-winning feature. And exactly, this farm would have been enough, because a field connection move would have been plus 18, right? So this 3-point farmer on the left would have turned into a 21-point farmer, and red would have won with plus 1 point. So it does seem like it was all about the farm. And if you look at the time that the Chilean player spent, and if you look at the time that the French player spent, well, maybe you have some questions that, was it possibly a winnable game for the French player? Claudio saying GG. Viv does not respond GG. Is he going to let this loss get into his head? I see here in the chat we have Edgar Townsend, actually the captain of Chile, and he's saying that they have been preparing to how to deal with Viv in the chat.
Ah, interesting.
Because apparently
I think it's also
this history of saying certain things.
Well, I had an interesting story in one of my duels against Mikael Rust last year, where at the start of the game, I sort of vary up what I say almost from year to year at the start of the games. And now I'm sticking with just good luck, have fun, because it's just nice and friendly. But I came up with this theory that I don't technically wish my opponent luck, do I? Like, I'd rather they didn't have the luck, so is that the wrong thing to say? And then I realised that what I actually really want to say sometimes is, may the best player win. Because I'm actually okay with losing to a better player if I feel like I've been outplayed. That's absolutely fine by me. That's what happens. So I said, for my duel against Mikael Russ last year started, I said, may the best player win. And he said, yes, I will win.
Oof.
And he didn't win. So that was quite funny.
Yeah. He does, like, I know that in his profile, he had like the words "no chat" mentioned, but this is a bit disingenuous because that guy sure likes to trash talk.
Yeah. No, Mick also seems like a decent chap from my other experiences with him. So, but yeah, in fairness, he probably is a better player out of me and him. But on that day, I think it might have been 2-0 or 2-1, I can't remember. But yeah, I got the victory, which was very sweet. So yeah, this is a comparison of the speed that we saw from the first two players. They completed their game already, and we're only halfway through what I assume is game one in the Vineria Wildwood duel.
Yeah, and it does seem that well, the favorite is reasserting his dominance, because certainly that was a painful block. Right now, this Wildwood Road will be stuck with 5 points over here. In the meantime, the players are equal on the scoreboard, but Yellow is doing quite well in a bunch of mini battles. So he has a 6-point farmer over here, and this farm could grow in a variety of ways. Whereas this little city piece, that's actually entirely dead. Yeah, there are no daggers that are left to fit here, so that's not great for red. What is semi-okay for red is that he has this medium-sized city in the middle, and there's still one tile that is left over here. He'll score his city, his Galleon Maple back, he will score 3 points for the road, and if that actually happens, he will be quite happy, because he will probably be ahead. Red has some couple of other things going for it. These are 2 monasteries for 13 points right now, but they will probably grow, and he might even get 1 or even 2 of his meeples back. Yellow, to compensate for that, has 1 monastery, which again 50% chance of actually him getting back. And if he does manage to draw his tile, the other road monastery, of course, goes over here, and then this monastery will be finished, and this will be just 18 points on Yellow's scoreboard, just like that. And finally, Yellow has this little city, which could absolutely either be blocked or not be blocked. at least it's not going to be blocked now, and this meeple could absolutely come back at some point and do more damage to his opponent. This meeple could join the army of 3 meeples of Joremeya, and this is 3 times as many as the French player has.
Yes. I think also Yellow's also looking at some chance to see below his farmer at the top. It's also a nice tile there, but his farmer at the top is might join up to another city if there's a straight line that comes out, and possibly even it can turn into a road which can be closed. Because we've still got several T-junctions to come.
Will he do it? Oh, the greed! Oh, the greed! And he draws one immediately. Yeah. Marian Korkan would call it inspiration. He knew that he's going to draw a crossroads immediately. But you know what? I quite like this move. I mean, you still have meeples, and if you just threatening to put the game away, essentially, it's going to be so huge. And you know what he's going to do? Just to rub it in, he's going to even meeple this little piece of road.
Yeah.
Just so that when he draws the road monastery, he scores both the 4-point road and the 9-point monastery. He's thinking about it. He's going to do it. He's just going to do it. Just for the content.
He's just picking which one. Because the other road's also completable.
Edgar is reporting about 2 interesting results. So both upset happens from both sides. Tito Arce has won against the French player with a screen name Blitz, and the Chilean player with the not so modest screen name GDLK has actually lost to the French captain with the screen name Squalus.
Veneria did not take either of those roads when completing his other road, which is interesting because then Red was able to claim the 4-point road instantly to the left. And yeah, still, it feels like it could be quite important who draws the last road is Monastery. Because that's just an easy 9 points for either player. In fact, it's got extra complications with gives Yellow an extra meeple back and pulls Red's farmer into a slightly larger farm.
But it wasn't a question. Of course it's Yellow who's going to pull it. Of course it's Yellow.
Get those fantasy points, Nymeria, please.
Yeah, I think... Well, I mean, a couple of French players are also on the fantasy team. So it's Squalus and Viv. And from the Chileans, we have GDLK, Vanira, and Claudio Jorquera on some fantasy teams.
Yeah, I can imagine Viv was a reasonably popular pick.
Melvin is mentioning that Viv appeared on a podcast. On Meeple podcast by Joaquin Calzado, and then he was asked some uncomfortable questions about his behavior in the chat, and we will have to watch it. If we have time at the end of the stream, we're actually going to go and listen to that episode. In the meantime, just, the Chilean player here is demonstrating all kinds of technique. I mean, you can win this game every which way, but he goes for the Ukrainian technique with 1 city controlling 2 monasteries, and Red was forced to add him a city point because he needed a monastery meeple back. And as Red, you should still fight. You should still hope for this tile, but there's no way in the world how Red is getting this coin flip. There's no way in the world how Red is getting this. It's just not that kind of game. But he should try, maybe win this field somehow. There are no connection points, but as Wildward, maybe you go over here, maybe drop a city cap, maybe meeple the city, then you finish the city, drop a farmer. You need to go into desperation mode right here. You just can't
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, that's one of the ways to do that, yeah. Equalizing a city, hoping for the huge starting tile, because they're not the huge starting tile, but the quadruple city tile, because I see, it seems to me that they are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, there are 3 different triple city tiles
Well,
remaining. One of them goes here,
although
one goes here.
let's call it 2 because one of them is earmarked for a city in the middle. So yeah, only the other 2 tiles which he'll put over there. I knew he can probably just take a 6-point farm on the bottom here with this tile, and the farm points is just racking up for yellow. On top of the already 21-point lead on the scoreboard. So if we're red, what can we do here? Yeah, it's getting a bit desperate, isn't it?
Well, I mean, it's still green's, red's move. No, it's still yellow's move. Yellow's move. Yellow could actually just like I don't meeple another fields over here for 6 points.
Yeah, I think that's what I'd be doing.
He's just waiting for the final buzzer. That's pretty much it. I actually suggest that we come back to this game later.
Sure.
And I'm going to open up now what I think is the key matchup for today. It is Laash versus Brian Townsend.
It's a wonderful name, Brian Townsend. Does not sound like you're from Chile, but we'll allow it.
I know. Well, we have his brother in the chat, the captain, Edgar Townsend. Actually, yeah. Oh,
right.
It does seem so. Can you talk about like why you have such English-sounding last names? There must be an interesting history behind it.
I assume there was settlers from maybe the UK at some point in Chile, but we'll have to wait and see if we get any response there.
Well, regardless of the origin of his last name, Brian is doing pretty well in this game. He has 2 extra meeples, 23 extra points on the scoreboard, and the field situation is not resolved. It does look like it could favor yellow if yellow somehow manages to find a tile that fits into this square and gets a 3 versus 2 majority. But does this tile even exist? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It does exist. So if yellow manages to draw a curve, then yellow goes over here, over here, over here, and this entire field unifies, and he has a 3 versus 2 majority, and this field is worth a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, 15 points. It will still not be enough for yellow.
Yeah. Red's got the big ruin in the middle, where yellow's got the big ruin at the bottom. Red's got a road which cancels out that monastery. Yellow does have the other field at the bottom. It'll certainly make it interesting if yellow does draw that curve. They absolutely have to draw it to stand any chance.
Yeah, they also would have loved to draw this tile that red just drew, you know, the one to complete their city. And, well, they have something going for him. At least they drew the tile that red needed to complete their city in the city.
Yeah, true. So... Yep. They could have swapped, but they didn't.
Well, it does seem like he actually has the curve. Brian's going to go over here for 7 points. Yeah. Yellow is going to go over here. By the way, we have a response in this chat. Edgar saying that their grandfather comes from Ireland.
Lovely.
So field connection complete. Probably not enough for a victory. Certainly not enough for a victory, but of course we will not going to refresh. We will have a look at how they're counting the points. Oh yeah. Okay, 12 points. 12 points. So I just accidentally looked at as if 86 were 68, and I thought, what? No. So the Chilean player does win, and for which we absolutely congratulate the team. Chile, this is absolutely huge. So now, Matt, what do you want to watch next?
I don't know. We can stick with this duel because we get to see the start of the next game. I always find it quite nice to sort of watch the whole game through rather than try and jump in and try and work out everything that's going on whilst they're playing. And they're playing at a nice statmatt sedate pace, which will give us plenty of time to dissect their moves.
That's true. Yeah, I'm just refreshing. I'm just waiting for them. On the
Sure.
other hand, I still but of course I had this other tab open, right? That was the whole purpose because we could just have a look what was happening. Well, Vineria, of course, will be now winning against Wildward. We can see the final tiles being counted, and even though all the features were equal and everything, it's just that so many farmers here by yellow. Interestingly, as we see, red did complete the city in the center, so that was quite nice for them. But still, that is just ain't gonna be enough to win one coin flip. You need to win many more coin flips. And also, just to add like a little bit of extra emotional damage with this win, Horin sent his opponent into the under 500 zone. If we're speaking about the elo.
It's always sad if that ever happens, which it does happen to us occasionally.
How much do you care about such stuff, Matt? Because I know like it's very different in Team UK. There's, for example, Ever, who just doesn't care about his elo whatsoever, and there is Danis30, who, at least according to his words, does seem to like having a higher elo.
Yeah.
Where do you stand?
I try not to get too hung up about it or too worried about it. There was a point, some point last year where I got close to 700 and I've not been master, so I was trying to go for it at that point, and then it just didn't happen, and I dropped back down. So yeah, if I'm not chasing the master badge, then I'm not too worried about what it is. Sometimes it's nice to sort of be almost lower rated to maybe catch your opponents unguarded if they aren't so familiar with you.
So this is absolutely true. I mean, I noticed that I kind of play worse against low-rated players at the WTCOC. I mean, of course, there's some exception as well. But on the other hand, there's also the opposite, right? If you have a very high elo, there's an intimidation factor, and players sometimes have told me that they play worse against me just because I have a high elo.
Oh, actually, well, I actually quite like playing the better rated players from the opposition because it feels like there's no pressure on me and starts with less pressure on me to get the result. And so if I do get a result, it's brilliant. And I also do seem to have picked up a few good results over the years against some of the better players. I remember you watched me beat the Greek champion Pantelis on one of your streams once, and also beaten UI Scooty, who is Thomas Preus, I think, also in the championship. And I beat one of the Japanese players, one of the Japanese champions, I think, at some point in a WTCOC match. So, or maybe that was a friendly, I can't remember. But anyway, yeah, I do seem to do reasonably well against these 4 world champions and top players. So I'm always like, bring them on.
So as future opponents, right, because Latvia and Team UK are still going to play, I make a mental note, line up a lower rated player against Matt. That's how we have a chance.
Well, you say that. I always find it. I remember once our team, this was probably a few years ago now, worked quite hard to, well, I think it was Chris Wallace Prime, and Danis30. We're trying to work out where the opposition were going to put all their players. And I was like, even if we work out precisely where all their players are going, how does that affect our strategy? Does it make any difference? I don't know. So yeah, I think random is just as good a system, to be honest.
I know that like some captains have their own system.
Yeah.
Well, I am not going to reveal mine, but I don't spend like too much time. I mean,
No.
you just put the players and then you try to play well and you hope that you play well and this leads to victory.
Quite. Yeah.
So this position, I actually started watching GDLK simply because they weren't starting the other game, and I guess we can watch another game end,
Yeah.
and maybe we can stick with this pair, I guess. If
Yeah, I
actually
don't
we're
mind.
giving a chance, because in order
Well,
for
yeah,
there to
true.
be in order for that to be a third match, a third game, GDLK needs to win this, but it doesn't seem to be headed that way. Well, he did get this ruin, which is very nice for him, but Red, that's Squalus here, got this field, and this field is 12 points, which is slightly more than this ruin. Ruin looks around 10. That 478 is exactly 10, actually. The monasteries are almost equal. Yeah, so you know what? It does seem to me that because of this extra field over here, Red is at +1, if I'm not mistaken. And Red is going to... Oh, nope. Never mind. I missed a farmer. So yeah, this is not looking well for Black at all. I missed a farmer, and I forgot about this guy. So it does seem that we see a major upset. Diego Acevedo here, I think is the strongest player in Chile still, and the 2018 champion of Chile. They are losing twice to the French captain.
Yeah, that'll be a big feather in the cap of Squalus when it comes through. And yeah, it does look that way, doesn't it?
Yep. So we have to congratulate Team France here. This is just a huge upset. I mean, of course, their rating-wise were close, but I did not expect this to happen. On the other hand, on table 1, there is another upset. Well, I guess we just might check on them.
Yeah, we can flick around.
Real quick. I didn't see what they write to each other in the chat, but it doesn't matter. So these guys are about to finish their second game. Well. And the Chilean player is again ahead on the scoreboard with extra 7 points, and the meeple count is equal. There's a ruin on the right, 2 versus 2, so this doesn't matter. This city is possibly going to be shared, so it maybe doesn't matter that much. This is a blocked piece of city, which is not very convenient for green, and red to outscore it has a 9-point field here on the left. So that's a +6 mini battle here for red. So then this means that green is only at +1. Green has a nice monastery over here to combat this 8-point monastery, but that's 3 fewer points, so he's actually at -2. And this field here in the center is shared. It's not a very big field. I mean, it's just 12 points. It ain't nothing. And so it does seem like the game is going to be very close.
It's not shared though, is it? That farm? I don't think.
Oh,
right.
not yet. Not yet.
Green has failed to make it. They're not going to make it. Just because all the Rhodian cloisters are out. So, Rhodian monasteries. So, yeah, I think red is going to win this. Because that's a 12-point field, isn't it, for red?
Mm.
And considering everything else was pretty much equal, green's going to need to come up with some huge points in the last couple of moves.
Well, green actually could have done that. Green could have used this tile over here and placed it over here and snatched this huge city and won the game. But he chose not to do that.
Yeah. Interesting.
I think, did he just miss a chance like this? And also now he just simply seems to be going for points, right? Viv is just scoring over here, but I do believe that you had to come up with something, right?
Mm-hmm. You do it, yeah. That
And there
feels
was
like
a
a missed opportunity, doesn't it?
yeah. So he could have actually had. Let's just count how many more points. Basically, he could have had all these tiles and like all these extra points for this city. So he could have had 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 16 more points. It does seem like this could have actually been enough.
Yeah. I'm not sure why he didn't go for it. I mean, I would say probably playing a bit too quick. Got to play a bit slower. That's what I would do.
Yeah, I mean, he does seem to play. I know. We all know that you would do that. Yeah, but he does seem actually. His time management seemed to be okay, but maybe no. He
No,
actually
yeah.
blitz. He thought about this move for a long time, and he decided
Mm.
not to fight for the city. But I still wonder why. Because like, what's his win condition instead?
Well, yeah, now is the time to magic up something. If there's a curve left, what he can play on his city on the left and then connect into this 9 point farm on the left.
I guess he counted that there were no curves remaining.
And oh yeah, I guess. um,
And it was the case. By the way, he could have still connected into the big field, but he chose not to do that. He could have used the outside of a curve. So
mm,
I don't know. I mean, Green just giving up here too early. As much as we praised him after the first game, it does seem like it's almost like a psychological defeat. I guess. I mean, okay, you could lose, but like, why not try?
yeah. I will say though that it's. I've been in a position before where I've won game one, and then I feel like I'm doing well in game two, and then it falls away, and then game three feels like a massive uphill struggle after feeling like you were getting close to sealing the duel in match two, game two. I don't know if we'll experience this here in this pairing.
Yeah. By the way, it does seem that the big city would have been totally enough, and
Mm.
maybe even the field's okay. So had he actually tried the 50-50 connection, he would have gotten 15 instead of 8. No, he would still be 1 point short. So the city would have worked, and the field would have not worked because he would have still be 1 point short. But
Yeah.
it does seem to me that maybe he just overlooked some of these opportunities to risk and simply resigned the game after failing to connect this farmer. But in Carcassonne, in competitive Carcassonne, you'd be surprised how very often you can come back from games.
Mm. Yeah. It's just rare that you feel totally comfortable with a few moves to go.
So, since you wanted to view a game from the beginning, we just headed into the decider for
Yeah,
Viv
why not?
and Claudia Jorquera. I mean, again, it's already getting closer than we expected. Of course, Viv here again with a starting player advantage, but Claudia here with the first city tile, and anything can happen.
Do we have any more updates on any other scores in any other games?
It does seem that the other players are getting inspiration from Matt's playbook and taking their sweet
Yes.
time.
Excellent. You know, there was one time Meeple Wizard was covering one of my matches on his stream, and he was getting very annoyed at how slow I was. I think he said he needed the toilet and didn't want to leave the stream. So I found it quite funny that I was making him cross his legs just because he was watching me play.
No, but I do believe, first of all, like I do believe your approach is more correct. There's really a lot of complexity to the games, a lot of things to consider, and I would like to talk about your time management in specific situations a little bit later. I've seen players play too fast very often. Sometimes actually there is a case of playing too slow, like when you're losing so much time that your opponent can use your time to think while your time is running. You definitely want to avoid that. You want to be thinking. You don't want to be getting yourself under 1 minute a bit too often. Sometimes I think I've seen you. So, in which stage of the game do you think more? Opening, middle game, end game, Matt? How does it work for you?
I tend to find that somewhere between about 10 tiles and 20 tiles to go, there'll become a point where you feel like you're like, right, now I really do want to know what the overall score is, like precisely, and try and work out as much as I can about the remaining tiles. Often it seems to come naturally when someone suddenly wins a 50-50 flip on a tile or whatever. It then becomes very clear. We're like, right, we know that city's now complete. What is there left? And yeah, so I quite often will spend a lot of time at that point. Even if my move is obvious, I'll still be like, I still want to work out some things. So it is sometimes nice to wait on your turn when you've got like a good tile and it's an obvious place to put it. You sort of you're perhaps kidding your opponent thinking you're going to miss the obvious play. But yeah, I do like to. I do just spend quite a lot of time thinking about trying to work out all the tiles. I do think I'm just quite slow at counting the tiles, or keeping up with it all. Perhaps I don't know. Because what I will say is that I consider that I played quite a small number of games of Carcassonne compared to some of the other players on the platform, like yourself perhaps. You're in the thousands, like several thousand. I don't know what the number is, but I'm yet to make 1,000 games on the platform. And I feel like whenever I watch your streams, you're so quick at picking up positions and roughly what's left and the points. But I'm perhaps a bit slower still. So yeah, I do take my time.
Interesting. So most of your time you say is taken out by tile counting and tile track and points counting, stuff like this.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. So you'd say, and maybe like less so on actually deciding the placement of the tile.
There's still like sometimes you do really weigh up a few options, but I do I try and pick up as much information about the tile counting as I can. As I go. And yeah, I also like to triple check things as well. Sometimes sometimes you're like, I'm pretty sure all the big city tiles are out, for example, so I know this connection can't be made. But then when you're like, actually, if I had made a miscount here, this would lose me the games. Then you're like, I will just double check and spend another half a minute just double checking.
Yeah, it's certainly unpleasant losing on a miscount.
Yeah. But also because I think I said this to you the other day, but there was an interesting situation in my was it week one match, week one duel, where you were streaming the match between the UK and whoever it was, and you jumped onto my game right near the end, and I had a very simple decision near the end of the game. I was winning. I had a tile which I could get 3 points in any number of ways. Like literally, there were hundreds of options. There was a tile with roads and city and field, so I could take a 3-point farm or a 3-point road or a 3-point ruin or whatever. And I just spent some time double checking all the other situations and how I was certain that a certain tile couldn't be made. And then I ended up realizing that the only way I was going to lose a game was if my time ran out. So I was like, I should probably just quickly play this tile rather than, because I got to about 20 seconds. So I was like, I should just play this tile anyway, just get 3 points, don't lose it on time. And then I went and got that city cap on my opponent's farm whilst also taking a 3-point road. And I was like, what an idiot, instantly. And then you streamed 2 moves in my entire duel and you just caught that one on camera and was like, what are you doing? But apart from that, I thought I played well.
I mean, you did win the game though, and the duel, for the record.
And the duel, yeah.
I guess sometimes it's a common tendency to get a little bit more sloppy towards the last move once you know that you're winning. Anyway, but so many interesting developments so far. I mean, I still think that it was worth discussing time management rather than this. And the players did first play very fast, But then they slowed down because some interesting situation occurred. So Viv dropped an early farmer over here. Now it's scoring 3 points, but it does look like this farm will be quite big. In the meantime, he was trying to build the circular city, but as Helgi is saying in the chat, circular cities look nice, but they don't work out quite well. And it's not working out quite well for Red because Green is now attempting a takeover, and he will succeed with an 88% chance because there's still three city tiles remaining to fit into the square that will give Green the 2 versus 1 majority, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 18 points in all likelihood, maybe 16 if he gets mildly unlucky. And on top of that, ooh, look at this move. I love this move absolutely here by Claudio. He's starting a new city. He's starting a new city outside of his opponent's field. That's important. And he's also pre-building a 3-point road to get it 3 extra road points when he actually does get the tile that fits over here.
Yeah, that was the move I was eyeing up for Green as well there. And yeah, it certainly is very efficient, isn't it? Red's got a splitter, which is it's an interesting split there because they were, well, in fact, Green had the more valuable collection of points from that city complex. But now Red has been able to complete it.
Exactly. Red was able to complete his city and add another city to the field and get a meeple back. And this green piece, which was attempting to share the city, it's still not completed, so it can still be attacked, either blocked or, possibly Red can reconnect. So Red is absolutely not out of this. I think Red can win this if he finishes this road early and if Green gets this city tile quite late in the game, if he doesn't... if he stays at a temporary meeple disadvantage. Red just 1 tile before Green was hoping to complete. He managed to thwart that effort and connect to the city with almost complete certainty. Of course, there's still the 1 splitter tile to deliver Red some sadness, but the chances of that are not that great. And now a key move absolutely here is Red. You should spend an entire minute. Do you meeple a monastery with your last meeple? Do you meeple it over here? Or do you just take 3 points for a road over here? Or do you simply take 2 points for the road over here, expand your field and attack the city? Or do you simply timidly take your road meeple simply to have a meeple back and bring 1 more city into your field and simply have more firepower? And Viv chooses the latter despite being, I would say, a bit behind due to this city happening, but he chooses to go the relatively safe route.
I think I would have probably done something a bit different there. I'm always a bit wary of he's sure he's added a city to his farm, but who knows, that may not be his farm coming into the game. And playing on a monastery, both points are yours for sure. Even if you don't get meeple back, they will be yours at the end of the game. But personally, I find the Rhodey's monastery tiles the most interesting in the game. I believe I've seen you say for you it's the cap of the T-junction. But for me, the Rhodey monastery tiles have very interesting choices of. I feel like road, monastery, and farm are all very valid options for that tile, and it's interesting to see what people pick.
Well, speaking of farm,
I thought this might be coming.
yeah. Even though Green did not draw a road monastery, this tile is good enough for him to try equalize the field, and he hopes to not only equalize the field, but also to meeple this 6-point road on his way back.
Yeah. Which feels like it could have been another reason to put that monastery down there, maybe. The Rhodey monastery.
Well, you have to like Green in this position.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have some interesting developments I already updated the scoreboard, but on table 2, there has been, I would say, a slight upset. That Tito Arce has defeated the French player with a screen name Blitz. It had happened quite quickly, so maybe the French player should have not lived up to his screen name and have played a little bit slower.
Absolutely.
But look at this, Red is scoring some quick points here. Red is now ahead on the scoreboard. The meeple count is equal, and Red has a spare monastery, which looks in a very nice spot because it will be finished with another monastery. Of course, Green is the one with the monastery tile in hand, but there's still 3 monastery tiles remaining, and like Red is gonna go over here. Red's gonna grab a curve, I guess, and even finish this. I think there's still 1 Dorito with a road, so all the sequence could be worth so many points. Just so many points. So much so that maybe Red doesn't mind anymore that Green will eventually finish this 18-point city.
Yeah. And we're still waiting for all 3 of those tiles, aren't we? So they're going to come, and yeah, it's got to be a farmer, isn't it? It is.
Interesting decision here. So Elias just said whoever gets the city cap with a road could close the shared city and drop a farmer. And just as it happened, the 9-point farmer by Green comes over here, and then Red immediately even helps out that farmer a little bit just to make his monastery less blockable. But I wonder if that was even worth it, perhaps. Well, it certainly has its merit. And look at this now. Claudio, even though he has only 1 meeple, he can't throw a 3rd meeple onto the field, but he's now trying to build barricades around his farm, wanting to preserve either this 9-point farm, which could be a 12-point farm if this little city cap piece turns into a 4-point city, or, you know, he could make it all the way over here into the big farm and then deliver some considerable physical and emotional damage to this farmer by Red, which will become completely worthless. But Red is not in a hurry to farm. Red decided not to equalize. He first wanted to block this field connection. Red finishes a shared city, which gives Red a couple of points, but this also gives Green a valuable meeple to work with. Now Green is at an only 2 versus 3 meeple disadvantage, which is a much easier meeple disadvantage to deal with than 1 versus 2. He starts a new city. Presumably he'll finish it up top and drop a farmer. Viv, in the meantime, drops a farmer over here. And Claudio, well, will he just pre-finish this road? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's still 3 curves remaining. 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, he actually does it. Viv scores some quick points. Claudio now scores 6 points for the road and gets a farmer in. There are no sort of visible field connection. I guess there's one on the right. Viv will absolutely go here. There's still 2 curves remaining. There's still one monastery with the road remaining. He will go over here and he will farm. I cannot imagine any other move. There's an alternative move to go over here, but actually it's not such a great move because even though you're attacking the city, it's very double-edged. You're helping your opponent to connect a farmer if Green actually does finish its city. And Viv is apparently watching the stream and trying to follow my advice. Farmer, I don't think we meeple the 3-point road here. I think it's a field connection. I overlooked it. Look at this. Are there straight lines? And this is something that the Chilean player is calculating now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Nope. No straight lines. But the farmer comes there anyway, because even though there are no straight lines, there are still 3 T-shaped crossroads, so it's just a huge tile over here. And, well, you gotta be just loving green in this position, especially once green draws a curve. He makes the farm bigger. He connects to it. Viva scores a 4-point road. Still doesn't do anything about the farm. What does Claudio do over here? I guess Claudio, of course, it takes 3 points for the road and connects into the farm. So now it's 3-3 in the farm. But the farm is getting pretty big. Whoever wins it probably wins the game. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 cities. And, oh, actually 6 cities. And this is, oh, 7 cities. I missed one. So it's 21 points, right? And there's also this one, which could be the 24 points. One is finished. I'm not sure if there are city caps remaining. I do think that there are city caps remaining. At least I can see some of them. So what do you do here is Viv. I think you need to come up with something. There's still only 2 tiles remaining that fit into this square, if I'm not mistaken. So maybe you just go over here, block some field connection. Maybe you go over here. Maybe you go over here. But it's not really in your interest to block field connections, right? As red, you probably need to open up field connections and try to reconnect. So, for example, one crazy though it may seem, but a move that you absolutely should be considering is to going over here, trying to add 2 points to the city, and then hoping to use one of these 2 platforms as a field connection. And, you know, to say, you know what? I don't care even if you finish that city. I'm just going to win this field outright, and the city won't even matter. I want to be in the move of the week segment. I want to be like Dr. Taihan from China.
Well, that would be an impressive move if he pulled it off. Because, yeah, it is looking like red needs to start to come up with some magic, really, with the field.
Jean was pointing out that in case of a tie, green has an advantage for now, but this phrase means 2 things. He has an advantage in the sense that he has more points, like plus 14 on the scoreboard, and red has only this 8-point -3 to compensate. But also, if there is a tie at the end of the game, green will win this because he was the second player and not the first. Viv takes 2 points on the left. It does seem to open up actually a new field connection option through the dagger. There's still 1 dagger remaining. There's still one tile left to fit in the square. So if you are green, maybe you actually want to go over here to have some insurance or block the square. This could work well. Or as green, you could simply go over here, meet for 3 points, try to connect through a curve, which could also... but there's not the other kind of dagger. So I think really tough decision here for green. Even though green has the advantage, actually sometimes having the advantage does not mean having the great win probability, and he's going to drop a farmer over here. I'm loving this move. So he's saying that, okay, you need 2 tiles to connect over here. I'm gonna draw one of these 2 tiles. So he draws one of the 2. He draws the road monitor, but there's still 1 curve remaining to fit into this square. And if green manages to fit into this square, then he will be winning this field outright. Now green needs to find 1 more farmer, or perhaps he needs to go over here and try to eliminate this field connection. Because if Viv draws a curve, not only will Viv ensure that this farmer doesn't go into the field, he will also try to connect over here. But Claudio here is having problems. He should go here. There's a move that gives him a 66% winning chance. Not this. You had to go over here. But these 3 points won't make a difference. There was the dagger, right?
Yeah.
What was the... I don't think these 3 points are going to make a difference, especially if you play them with 2:40 on the clock. It seems that green has given away like 33% of equity just like this. So he will be at 33% instead of 66%. But did he actually draw the curve or not? Never mind, there was no curve. Of course there was no curve.
Yeah, I'll explain it then.
No, there was a curve. There wasn't a dagger.
Right.
Oh, well. Where's the 3rd dagger? Ah, okay, here. Anyway, I still don't like the 3 points.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, it's all about the field, wasn't it?
Yeah, like you had to look for some sort of field connection here. Maybe it wasn't present, but eh, it does seem like there was potentially another farmer that green could have dropped at some point. But red somehow managing to make the comeback again despite the city just holding down an equality on the field, building up monasteries at the very end of the game. And that's going to do it. The Frenchman makes the comeback from 0 versus 1 and puts France ahead. It's now 2 for France, 1 for Chile.
Yeah, impressive there from Viv. That was he was backed into a corner a bit after that first loss, but he's done well to turn it around. I mean, Claudio still to play some good Carcassonne as well in there. That really was a high quality duel.
Oh, Melvin is saying that Claudio had a winning move. He could he could take away some tiles away from Chile. There was a farmer that could have dropped on the right to gain him some more extra equity. But I think it must have been definitely the French players' success in playing some sort of mind games. I very noticed that sometimes if your opponent is playing very fast, you have a temptation as well of playing very fast. But Viv just just counts stuff very quickly. Really? You don't do that sometimes? Especially when you're losing.
No, I try not to get. I try just to play my own game and not get drawn into my opponent playing fast. And if anything, I think it might slightly irritate my opponent if they want to play fast and I'm slowing it down. And yeah, in these games where there's increment on the clock, you're safe to gain that time back later. Okay, so what we got here, the axe is ahead on the scoreboard. A couple of what looks like a reasonable farm that's been going on in the middle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's a huge city in the middle there as well, which has been completed. Maybe that went yellow's way to explain the scoreboard disparity. Yeah,
maybe yellow scored the city and red scored everything else.
Yeah,
maybe that was.
Yeah, possibly. But yeah, so it's a 15-point farm, which yellow currently has control of, and it has a second meeple potentially coming in on the left, but red also has a meeple potentially coming in on the top right. Yellow's one could be vulnerable though, so I guess yellow's thinking about maybe protecting that farmer who might come in. Particularly as there's only one monastery left, and then yeah, you're just counting the vanilla caps. How many vanilla caps left?
1.
Oh,
0, 0, 0. I forgot this one at the top.
0.
So
this is the last one. Yeah, red wins it.
But look at this. La Hache dropped some insurance, and I think they knew that if your opponent gets a monastery, then you get some sort of curve void.
Yes.
They must have some sort of curve void in hand.
Not necessarily. They could still be the last tile that red draws could be the last curve. Yeah, I guess this is where you really want to do. You really do want to know what those last 2 tiles are.
You're right. Yes. So he gave.
And I would be using my 2 minutes. And yes.
So red drew everything he needed, but the question is, will that even be enough? Because he will share the field. But he was behind on the scoreboard.
Yeah, quite a bit. I think it's an extra monastery in there. He's got the field at the bottom as well for 6 points. It's going to be close. And of course, he took the monastery in the field join. And he has that large part of the city. Maybe red does it enough.
Red will have it by 3 points.
Oh,
and you know where these 3 points came here? So just as we were praising La Hache, this move was losing. Oh, it's a tie. What did I miss? I missed this farmer. I missed this farmer on the left.
Yeah.
Okay, It's a tie, and
Oh,
it was
so
the player with the red meeples who plays the
we'll
last
play
tile.
last. But is that the first same as the first player? Probably.
I don't think anything was discarded because all the four big
Yeah.
tiles are over here. So we're headed into a decider. I think we just need to recheck this. Well, yeah, we can't really see
Seems.
that, but we're just going to assume that it is. Le Ash who actually won the game. I mean, there were probably other ways to do that. I think they could have simply won by, like scoring a 1-point road or something like this. They didn't even
Yeah.
have to attempt to fight for the field. So if anything, that was like exceptionally risky.
Mm. Yeah, it's really crucial to try and work out whether you have to fight for it or not, because it could have looked a bit silly had he lost by a point, but it worked out okay, didn't it?
So they're discussing in the chat about who won, and yes, they confirmed that they're going into a decider, which we are about to
Lovely.
watch. Well, just maybe like have a quick look at Vineria. I do believe that he's probably going to take care of business, but okay. Oh,
We'll see how he's doing.
Is that a decider? Because they say that the game started only 8 minutes ago. Actually, I have to double check because I didn't see any Vineria score updates. So, oh yep. So Walward, in fact, won the second by 4 points. So that's another decider. Okay, so Matt, up to you. You're my guest. Do you want to watch the decider that's underway or the decider that's just started?
Let's go with Vineria. Let's watch the rest of that one. That goes against what my logic was from earlier in the stream. We can see that one finish and then hop over to the other one, which may be of excitement as well.
Right. Well, there's still half a game ahead, so all the main events in this game are still yet to happen, and we can still make sense of this position. It's a relatively closed one. Ooh. Both players have only one meeple, and oh man. Of course, Hori was going to do this. So some content moves had been played in the middle. This city has 2 meeples of. Wait, where's my? What should we do? I'm missing my drawing tool. Oh yeah, there we go. I wanted to draw on the screen. Okay, there we go. This city here in the center. I'm sure everybody sees it over here. It's worth so many points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then like 11. But when it's finished, it's going to be 24 points, and there's still 2 tiles that are fit into this square, and then it will be just huge for yellow. So I guess that's why yellow must have built it with 2 meeples, taking inspiration from the Catalan player David Bourdois.
We should also note that there's quite a large field forming already. It's 15 points, but it'll be 18 when that city completes, and there's a city at the top and a city in the middle-ish, which just captures hanging. So if Red can win that outright, maybe that will cancel out this city. It might depend on when yellow draws that tile, because sometimes it can just come quite late and then you don't get the chance to reinvest those meeples efficiently. But Red has now just had a city trapped in the middle right, which will be very sad for him.
It will be sad. However, it's still.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
The city finished, and just Red was able to pre-finish his road, and this road people also come back. So actually, Red is absolutely still in this. Red just needs to find a tile that gives him a farmer, but he does not find. It was so crucial for him to get a road tile in order to get this connection. So now it's going to be very hard for Red. You see, sometimes with these positions in big cities, when you're finishing a big city, typically a big farm emerges, and your opponent has the first move and can claim that big farm. In this case, the farm in Share, you can just kind of go over here. But he didn't drew the tile, and yellow now didn't drew the tile also. So the farm is absolutely up for grabs. Of course, he's probably going now over here, but it's not such a beautiful field connection as this one, because this is probably still blockable. I can imagine how Red builds around the square. It does not let the second farmer in. So this game will be all about that field. This is not looking great for red because yellow has the long-term meeple advantage, right? Trapped versus trapped. This will probably be completed. And this is trapped versus a monastery, which is not trapped. So in these big field fights, having spare meeples is just everything.
Yeah.
Unless red can somehow conjure up something interesting. Well, first of all, he has to go over here. It's not a choice. Claim this field connection. And then he can try to build barricades. That's how you can sometimes win fields with a meeple minority. You control the field, you preserve one meeple for quick points, and then you spend the entire game simply blocking your opponent's field connections or, blocking future field connection points. He does go for the farm. Let's see how yellow responds. Yellow does not get a farming tile. Yellow gets like a quick point tile or something, maybe 4 points over here, trying to finish this monastery as well. Maybe dropping a farmer over here, but that's not that great because it's possible to draw a city tile and get separated. So he just simply draws 4 points over here. However, this monastery is now vulnerable, and if this monastery is now blocked, which is not going to happen in this turn, but it could happen later, well then this situation will not be so great for yellow. But yellow now probably going to save his monastery and drop a farmer like this. Yeah. I love this move. Save road, because there's still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 3 curves remaining. And then also drop a farmer, like try to sort of sneak in back to back like this.
Yeah, so that is just a very juicy opportunity to get a farmer in, which, well, I was going to say red might want to take it, but red only has 1 meeple, so maybe they wouldn't want to be taking it just yet. I mean, it's looking fairly reasonable for yellow at the moment, particularly if they. I mean, you just have to defend the monastery here. The farmer perhaps isn't essential. I probably would do it, but yeah, yellow's 15 points up on the scoreboard, so it's got a couple of spare meeples. That monastery will surely come back at some point. And yeah, they go for it.
Apparently watching the stream on the second device, deciding that this is worth it. I think this farmer is kind of half defensive, just to make sure that red cannot drop another one, because red could get a meeple back. They're building the city, and yeah, what does Vineria do here? I guess they could just like finish the shared road, start a city, but that's a bit weak. They could start a new city over here, then drop another farmer, connect back to back like this. Yeah, I actually quite like this. They could drop the city cap over here, trying to thwart the development of this city, although I wonder what the effect of that's going to be. And finally, they could place it over here, trying to connect. However, the square is now vulnerable. So Walward is not able to block this just yet, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there are still plenty of straight lines remaining. But he could go over here and try to block it on the next move. This is absolutely doable.
Yeah, going up the top would cause a lot of problems as well. If you can create that starter tile cap, that's always painful. Is how many have we had so far? Let's see, 3. But I wouldn't trust myself. Okay.
So yellow does successfully complete the field connection, and then, well, red will eventually make his way into the field, but in order to win, red will need another farmer. As yellow, do you drop the last meeple here? Or do you just go over here, simply trying to thwart the development of this city? Although this move would also kind of create a nasty field connection like this through curves. Red could potentially drop a meeple over here, sneak into the field like this. Yeah, you know what? Like, as yellow, why don't we just go over here, right? Because simply to overfarm, to secure this field, and to say, you know what, I'm probably going to get a meeple back either from this monastery or from the share road or from my solo road alone. I don't really need to score many points. If I just preserve the field, I win. On the other hand, red could finish a city and then come back into this game. So what would you do, Matt, here?
This is where I'd spend a bit of time thinking, for sure. But it's quite enticing to try and fort that city, because I feel like a good way back for red is to complete that city, and it's one of them things where it's still like I was 2 tiles away from completing, but if their next tile's a cap or whatever, then you're going to be like, right, it's now about to be completed. So but I do also agree with your logic that yellow will get a man back pretty soon. It doesn't play on it. Interesting. But yes, it does open up this field connection at the top, which is probably the only downside to that move.
Yep.
But does red take that?
Yeah, red's just waiting for meeples first. I mean, he still wants to get this one back and then later connects to the field. But actually, there was a case to be made for red to do this immediately even. The city's still live, by the way. There's a starting tile, there's a city with a cross. So if he gets like a regular city cap or something like this, then red is still absolutely in this.
Yeah.
Dum 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 dum. This city is getting huge. All thanks to tiles so generously invested by yellow. This one. This one will result in 4 extra points for reds. Which is why, as yellow, well, I think what you gotta do here is go over here and you farm. No 4 points, you drop a farmer. Greeds. Maybe he wants to. Maybe he decided that he wants to win without the field. That's interesting, but very unfortunate tile here for red. And now, of course, Vanir will go over here and drop a farmer. So red drew probably one of the very few tiles in the deck that doesn't fit over here. So he will not able to farm this. But as yellow, you have to be happy with this. You can either go over here, continue a road, or you can go over here, drop the farmer, or you can go over here, drop the farmer. I think this should be. Okay, this was the last curve, actually. Yeah, this is the last curve that he has in hand.
And red still still needs to actually connect in the bottom left, and it can be surprising. Occasionally, you can get situations where you just what seems to be a certain connection can sometimes just not happen. So have we got more Doritos to come? Or is there more?
There's one Dorito.
One monastery.
One Dorito, one monastery, yeah. And no vanilla city caps, sorry.
Thank you.
So only 2 tiles remaining to complete the connection. So like not guaranteed at all. Imagine getting beaten by the deck so hard that a farmer like this doesn't make it into the field.
I mean, you'd have to double check and look back to see if red actually had opportunities with other tiles and turned it down, which seems fair at the time.
I don't think so. I checked. I remember.
Okay, fair. Yeah, that would be pretty harsh.
Oh, now it makes sense why Vineri actually doesn't seem to want to drop the farmer over here. If there are only 2 tiles left to complete the connection. Yeah, exactly. So he's happy to leave this alone. Now his move made sense. And Wildward now has to make a difficult decision here. Like, do you just expand your city? Which I probably wouldn't do. Or do you just go over here?
Yeah, you need to hope you complete.
Take 2.
You got to hope you complete it, I think. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. He just has to hope he gets to complete it in one move. Because there are still plenty of tiles that do not complete the block and only make a 50-50 block. For example, this one. Then yellow is not able to block this one at all. And there are some scenarios how red win this, actually. Though it's very, very slim. Okay, here's what I see. Like, he gets a Dorito, then he gets some sort of city tile, maybe an extender, drops a farmer, connects through a straight line, something like this, all still doable scenarios. But did you see how many commas there were in that sentence? Obviously, you can't hear commas, but it was a long list of things that needed to happen in order for Red to win. Well, Red is adding points to his city, and he just saved himself for the block because Horim was prepared to just smash this tile over here and eliminate the threat of this city. But now he can't play it anywhere. He could probably meeple a ruin, but does he even need it? Maybe he can place it over here, eliminate some sort of field connection, or he could place it over here, or he can place it over here, meeple the farm. Too many choices here for Red. For Yellow, he could place over here, eliminate another field connection, because actually, check this out. So what if Red finishes this city with one city cap, and then uses the other city cap to connect to the field through here on the right? He drops the farmer like this. He uses the, let's say, starting tile, of which there's one remaining, to connect like this. And voila, there's the equality. And here, there is the field majority. But the Chilean player says, you know what, I don't care. I'm just going to build a ruin, and you can do whatever you want. Whatever I want? Okay, I'm going to finish a city. Yellow saying, I got this. I'm just going to draw all your field connection tiles. See? I got the tile that would have gotten Red into the field, and now Red just desperately needs a monastery.
Yeah. It would be incredible if that meeple does not make it onto the main farm. But at this point, Red still needs to absolutely do that, don't they? The monastery would be good. They can take 5 points from that.
He has to go. He has to go for it. He has to go over here. It's not a choice. He has to. Well, actually, is it? But it does seem that if he drops a farmer over here, right, he's going to have one tile that fits here, one tile that fits here, and some good things can happen to him. Okay, so they're completely equal on the scoreboard. He has this 8-point monastery versus a 1-point city. That's a +7 mini battle. And this is a 3 points for an incompleted city, so that's actually +10. 4 points for the road for Yellow, so Red is at +6. And 7 points for Yellow for this ruin, so Yellow is at +1 and the field. So 2 options that can give the victory for Red. 1, complete the field connection and deploy your other meeple someplace valuable, or try to win the field outright by going over here. The latter one, certainly the content move. So I really hope that he does that.
Yeah, so what, there's just one capital T-junction left to make that connection. But it seems like he needs to do something like that. I was probably just adding up the points and just seeing and checking the tiles, like what I would be doing at this point, to be honest. Because otherwise there is a nice, you can take a 5-point raid at the top left, but that would be something you might be hoping to use when this last meeple's on. But yeah. Spineria actually got down to 9 seconds on their clock, it looks like. So, they haven't got oodles of time. Does he think there's a curve?
I don't think so.
No, okay,
he's blocking from one side, he's going to block from another side. But I was surprised that Red didn't go for the other field connection, because imagine if it now gets from block side. It's absolutely from both sides. It's absolutely possible.
Yeah.
Now only the monastery that's left into this square. Juliano is asking, why did YouTube remind me of the stream? Yes, probably because of the bell icon Whoa. Is that a miscount by the Chilean player? By the way, I told you. He would have won. He would have won the game on the spot had you listened to me. So this field connection would have totally worked. It does seem that maybe Yellow hallucinated and decided that he can connect through this road monastery, but it's not existent because both road monasteries are out. But I mean, you can make all kinds of moves in time trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah, and while we're probably regretting his decision, and of course, it doesn't matter. You can play whichever moves you want. The strategy by Yellow was to draw all Red's connection tiles, all 4 which were available at the time. Both curves, and the monastery, and the Dorito, and the city cap. 5 connection tiles.
Yeah.
This happens less than 3% of the time.
You just can't legislate for that when you're playing. You always have to take the probabilities, and that, I agreed with you at the time. That seemed like a surefire connection to the field, but as it turns out, well, it was never surefire, but it's not come off for Red.
No, of course. This doesn't mean that this move was still absolutely correct and a must play. But the thing is, okay, you see that you kind of get unlucky and your chances are dwindling. He could have gotten for another field connection and completed this. So this game was absolutely winnable for Red. He doesn't... I know maybe like if he thinks, oh, you draw so many of my stuff. Doesn't matter. Still winnable.
Yeah. Interesting that Red didn't just take that road. I mean, I'm not quite sure what else is left, but it feels like that's the most valuable thing he's going to be able to claim on his last turn.
And now he's going to end up with a meeple surplus because of that.
Yes. Well, I guess it doesn't make that move, right? If Red deploys their meeple, but doesn't look well. Okay, so it doesn't look like it matters too much because they are both roaded tiles at the end. All of them were rodents. Oh, no, it does, because I miscounted the tiles. Yeah, okay. So, Red could have claimed another road instead. One thing I've been trying to work on in my own gameplay recently is trying to best work out when you have like 2 or 3 meeples left with like 10 tiles to go, when to use those, when to throw them down, like how often you're going to be like placing them and getting the meeples back from those last tiles. Like there's quick points available from the last tiles or what. But it seems like Red's miscalculated there for sure.
$30 points for the field. That's just huge.
Yeah. So I think when we jumped into that game, we were like, well, the city's huge, but it's also about the field, and it's certainly the field has made the difference, as well as that city. That city was important as well at the start, or at least the middle. So we've got a all-out decider.
As we predicted at the start, it all comes down to Brian. If it all comes down, we're going to see if Brian manages to withstand the blows of the axe.
This position has quite often been me in some of the UK matches, as the slowest player by far on our team. If ever I go into a decider, I pretty much know that I'll be the last to finish in our team, and so I can tend to just So when I play the matches, I never look at how the rest of the team are doing whilst I'm playing. I just focus on my games. I just play my games. But I get a very strong sense from the number of spectators in my final game table as to whether this is a decider or not. So these players might notice that. With a lot of spectators, but this is the whole match rests on the outcome of this game. And what do we have? Yellow has a small lead on the scoreboard of 7 points. Yellow is looking reasonable, but looking good. Two farmers on the farm in the sort of middle of the map, but it's only a 12-point farm. Could become more. You'd hope Yellow will be hoping to complete that city at the bottom for sure. And red has taken a nice 9-point farm on the left.
These two farms can still merge, either through
yes,
double curves, for example, like this, through a ring, or through double curves over here.
This could be one of those interesting situations where Reds may work out they don't actually want to connect that way. They want to let Yellow have this farm with 2 meeples on it, and it's not the game-winning feature. But yeah, completing the road's very nice for Reds, and that pretty much equalises the scoreboard, doesn't it? We're on 1 point.
Not anymore, because 8-point city comes for the mighty axe. In the meantime, I think one interesting move that we sort of skipped in our discussion is that Yellow meepled to 5-point ruin/city, and they're actually hoping to complete it, even though there's still 3 tiles remaining. But I rather like greed like this, if I'm completely honest.
Yeah, I like it too, because well, they both got quite a few meeples to go. There's no humongous features to fight for. So yeah, you want to be claiming those. There's literally no other ruins to take at the moment. So yeah, and also it's still live, right? You can still complete. There'll be chances for that to complete, and when something's still live, you have to worry about it. But Yellow draws a very good tile for them here. This is just goes in there, yes, and but now, well, now having just commented how the scoreboard was pretty close, and now it's a 20-point deficit on the scoreboard. So Red now needs to come up with some stuff here. How alive do we think that city in the middle is? Is there a dagger to complete that? Looks like there probably is. So 2?
Just one. Just one dagger.
Just one.
Still ain't nothing.
And then the starter tiles, how are we doing on them?
2, it seems. 1 for over here, and 1 for over here. So, well, Red wins if he gets just the thing that he wants. He goes for the greeds. He wants to score a 5-point road in 2 moves, and I can't see a better use for a road tile. Probably a little bit too early to fight for the fields, but it seems that you're gonna have to fight for everything as Red here. Just bite into this game with your teeth and fight and fight.
So Yellow's in a great position. They've got the 4 meeples, so they can even afford to be a little bit risky with if they want to defend the field with another farmer or something, which they might not even want to do. They can sort of throw a bit of caution here, caution to the wind, and just go for a slightly risky connection potentially. But what's interesting here is that so if Red completes their roads, then they will they're getting the connection closer to that farmer, but it's not done yet, and Red sort of gets that sort of situation where they might want to back out of it and actually just preserve that meeple for 9 points, or not.
I could certainly see such a situation. Well, like, Red actually has to make this decision pretty much right now. Let's say, do you go over here and you meeple this like 0-point field, which is super, super risky, but I actually start liking this move for a variety of reasons. Or do you go over here at the top and drop a second farmer like this, trying to connect through multiple tiles all the way here? Again, also kind of risky. He goes to protect the city. So as the axe, you can, I guess, go over here and just make sure that the city's not finished. Actually, yeah, you can just do it right now. And even meeple the
and I feel like
that's really,
yeah, you would definitely meeple it. Yeah, with 4 meeples to go, 15 tiles, I think I would be looking at that. But okay.
Well, another decision for Brian. So this is the make or break. Do we just finish the 5-point road and separate and preserve our 9-point farmer? He decides to opt for this. Or do we wait for a better tile? He decided he wants to keep the 9 points and maybe fight for the main field with some other 2 farmers. It is 15 points. It is rather juicy. And also...
so So Red City now in the middle is dead because Yellow's drawn the last dagger. So that was one of Red's big hopes. Yes. So Red to win this game is feeling tricky. It's feeling very tricky with those monasteries as well. Yeah.
And on top of that, Yellow's dropping another farmer trying to equalize your 9-point farm. Although with a city cap, kind of a bit iffy if you ask me. But okay, like there's so many ways for Yellow to win this. But Red still needs to fight, both for the content and for his actual equity in this game. It's not over because he could finish this city. He could draw a curve, connect here through a starting tile, meeple this road, finish this road with a crossroad, something like this. Or, yeah, there's just other fields connection that he can do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, there's only one curve remaining. That's kind of not great for him. He could maybe find no vanilla caps either. I'm just trying to do some wishful thinking, but you know, this field is more closed than it may seem at first sight.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate that I don't see any way around this him winning this game if he doesn't get onto this field because he's so far behind on other things.
I think I see his plan. He's starting a 2-point road, and I rather like it because you know what his idea is? His idea is to draw a curve and maybe drop a farmer and connect like this, finishing your road.
Okay, yes.
And at the same time, but the question is, you don't get a curve. So do you actually just bail out of this idea and go over here just to leave your opponent without monasteries?
It's very difficult, isn't it? He's running out of tiles fast and needs to regain a lot of points. I quite like your suggestion. I don't know what tiles are remaining precisely, so I'm not sure the odds of it all, but...
Well, the last curve goes to the French player.
Yeah, which is not good for the match because that's just a connection, I think, in the top left. And yeah, Red needed to hope that Yellow wasn't going to connect there and didn't even have time to block it, really, I don't think. Oh, no, it's already connected, isn't it? Sorry, but Dorito connected him in. So we still think there's 2 starter tiles, I think. Did we agree? I think.
Yes.
So the city at the top has potential for connection. And here we go. Here is one of them.
After this one, some sort of road. Okay, so why take a 3-point field where you can take a 4-point road? I do not understand this. Maybe he knows something that we don't. But it's so interesting. The Axe was actually trying to unify all these fields, which I don't think benefits him really. Well, I mean, it sort of makes sense, but right, you're just trying to do this to insult your opponent. It doesn't really increase your winning chances.
Yeah, if anything, it just makes it makes a bigger chance. Well, does it make a bigger chance for a comeback? Possibly. Yeah, probably it does actually, doesn't it? But you can bail out that idea luckily and take 4 points, or yes, take 5 points.
But like Red needs to come up with something absolutely incredible. I was thinking going over here and dropping a farmer, but unfortunately there's 0 tiles remaining that fit into the square that could complete the connection. But let's keep brainstorming. You can't just give up like this.
Oh,
bam!
You can farm.
At the top like this, right, through a straight line.
But... Yes, through a straight line, yeah.
I mean,
it's risky, right? but yeah, we're getting to that desperation point, I think, as Red.
To say the
least. But we need to find another one, though, don't we?
Well, this connection is actually still doable because I think there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, yes. I double checked and I didn't need to have to recount. There was 1 straight line and 1 starting tile, right? And if you go over here and your opponent draws something like a roadless Dorito, then they can't block you 100%. They can only block you 50%.
Yeah.
So Yeah, it's fine, but it's still not gonna get you close enough to win the game. That's the problem. It does seem that we have seen several Chilean players today just simply go to make moves that decrease the point difference rather than moves that actually give you some outside shot of winning.
It's a mistake I used to make. I think actually, in fact, I learned about this a bit more from watching your streams, and it was that duel against Pantelis, I think last year, where you criticised me correctly for the only way I could win was by taking a big gamble near the end, and I didn't take a gamble. I was like, oh, I'm just going to keep scoring some points and not just throw a meeple down on a 0 point farm, but that's what I had to do to potentially win. I lost that game, but fortunately won the duel. But yeah, you sometimes just need to work out that the only way I can win is taking big risks, and sometimes it comes off. I've also lost other games where I feel like I'm in control, and then my opponent tries something really risky, but I'm like, oh, to be fair, that is the only way you can win, and sometimes it works for them. So yeah, and that's one of the things I think which the best players must identify and gives the best players their high lows. So yeah, red, yeah, it's just not going for the farm.
Wasn't too easy to do so with this tile anyway.
Well, yeah. Well, true. Yeah, they basically were out of time by now by choosing not to go for it with the previous tile, weren't they? And yellow amazingly completes that road.
The field connection would have worked, by the way.
It would have done, yeah.
Well, I mean,
but they used to find magic up another one. Yeah.
But still, I guess this means that you gotta do this stuff earlier. And try to get 3 meeples into this field. Just really go on full desperation mode.
Yeah.
But now, just don't lose on time. 5, 4. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Oh, it's 0. Ooh. Does this count as a loss or not? I think not.
I think it depends if at the end of the game it shows you a red clock or not, which it might do. It's important for people to realise that the clocks on BGA aren't particularly great in terms of they're not synced up, and when you play your move, it then resyncs back with the server again. And so that's what sometimes it may appear you've got 2 seconds left, and then when the move's actually made, it then shows you in negative 1 second, and you're like, what? I thought I definitely made the move before my time had run out. But yeah, I always make sure I'm not into the last 5 seconds. I think it's too risky. Or at least I try to make sure of that.
Laash is taking 1 more point for this city over here. And now, very painfully, HT cannot take these 4 points for the city over here because... No, you can't do that. You can't do that. Because the last tile is a starting tile, so you're giving 7 points to your opponent. You're taking 5 points yourself, but you're giving 7 points to your opponent. That's the problem. That's why you can't take this kind of stuff.
It was quite... it's an unfortunate way around, though, isn't it? Just because it was so difficult. So, all the good things you could do at that tile just gave the opponent a good thing to do as well.
Exactly, yeah. So it's actually it's a minor imprecision. It cost red only 1 point compared to the best move that they could have played. But yeah, at the end of the game, it seemed that it was just such a deadlock with all these monasteries and having 2 meeples on the field. So overall, of course, a very tight match, and as we said, it ended at 3-2, and as we said, it ended with this particular duel between Brian Townsend and the axe, which has landed straight in the middle of the heart of Chilean fans. Plus 20.
Chile, but congratulations to France.
Congratulations to France, and maybe the last game will be registered as a loss on time because Board Game Arena does show HT Bryant red, even though their time was black. So just if you're playing in the championship, make sure to leave yourself some 10 seconds. Congratulations to Team France, who are now really close to advancing. That was their key matchup. Of course, they haven't played Argentina yet, I think, and that will be quite hard for them as well. Chile lost to Argentina. That was another key matchup, and now it does indeed seem that life is going to be much harder for Chile. But let's have a look at the tournament table. So France will be now jumping into... No, they will still be in third place because they have played 5 matches. They have 3 victories. Argentina will have at least 3, and they still have a shot tomorrow. I don't quite remember who they are playing against. I think it's Peru, actually. So they do have a pretty good chance on being 4 out of 5. And then France is in
so does that mean we got US v Greece, which is a similar battle for us today, where it's going to be a huge win for one team and make the lives very difficult of the other who loses.
I would say that the United States would have to be a massive favorite against Greece, but anything can happen, of course. So then Chile, regardless of how this match, and Chile will be demoted to 5th place temporarily.
Mm-hmm.
And they will need to win 2 more matches in order to advance, and then hope that all these teams just beat each other to death and lose to each other in a way that favors Chile on tiebreakers.
Chile do have a good duel difference. They were already at +2 before today, so now +1. But if they're winning their last 2 duels, they'll be looking okay. So yeah, definitely not all over for Chile, but a massive step by France, I'd say, towards making that knockout stage. They have room for a step up potentially, whereas Chile will pretty much have to be perfect from here to the end of the group stage in order to continue.
Alrighty, well, that's what it is for the match. Chile still has chances. France has even more chances. But we'll just do a couple of traditional updates. And if you have special questions to our special guests in the next 5 or 10 minutes or so, then do let me know. I remind that Matt Tucker is statmatt on Board Game Arena. You can ask anything as long as the question is, where is my Mind Sports Olympiad medal? It's coming. And also, I don't think Matt is the one in charge, right?
I've actually been a bit more involved in. I'm not the one who packs it up and puts it into an envelope or anything, but I am in contact with the person that does that, so I can provide updates. But yes, that is my the most common question I'm getting on the MSO Discord at the moment.
Yeah. So Elias is saying, I just want to congratulate Matt on the organization of the MSO Grand Prix. Yeah, indeed, it is making a huge difference. I actually have to join him as well.
Thank you, Elias. Yeah, is that complex?
Yes.
Yeah, I've seen him play in a fair few things. It's nice whenever I see a Carcassonne player in the MSO tournaments. I know they're always a reasonable player. That's whatever they're going to be playing, because the top level Carcassonne players, the skills transition so nicely into many of the other games.
Yeah, well, actually, I wanted to ask you. So, is Carcassonne your first game? Is Carcassonne even your main game?
I don't think I even have a main game in terms of. If you do count Carcassonne as my main game, I play less than 1,000 games of it, which is much in deficit to you and many others that take part in the WTCOC. But I do play it quite a lot. I also quite like Dominion, the deck building card game. That's a favourite of mine. But again, I don't dedicate enough time to that perhaps to quite become master level. But actually, my story of how I got into Carcassonne is semi-interesting, I would say, and so I'll just spin through it quickly. I've actually covered my story of how I got involved with the MSO somewhat, so I'm just going to run through it quickly. So the Mind Sports Olympiad, for those who don't know, is a sort of series of board game tournaments that takes place in London every year in late August, normally. It lasts for a week. And there's all sorts of things from chess to Carcassonne to there's even Monopoly, Catan, and backgammon, poker, Scrabble, all sorts of it. Any board game that is relatively popular is usually on the schedule. And yeah, I came across the MSO in like 2018, I think, and was like, this looks like a fun thing. I like board games. I like playing board games. I think I'm semi-competitive. I'm going to go and play a couple of tournaments. Didn't do particularly well, but enjoyed it. So came back again in 2019 and played a few more and was like, yeah, this is quite good fun. I think for 2020, I'm going to come and try and play the full week rather than just one or two events. And so, yeah, I was planning on playing the full schedule in 2020, but as we all know, coronavirus happened and Mind Sports Olympiad had to cancel the 2020 event. But instead, they ran it online for the first time and held almost like a month-long competition of tournaments on Board Game Arena and several other platforms. And I had a great time playing that. I did reasonably well, actually, for that one. I was sixth in the overall standings. Because, yeah, one thing about the Mind Sports Olympiad is there's an overall leaderboard. So as well as just trying to win your gold medals in each individual event, there's a sort of meta tournament where there's a calculation that's made for each tournament, which gives everybody a score for depending on how they did in that tournament and how many players were in that tournament. And then there's the Pentamind leaderboard, which takes your best 5 results from kind of any tournament in that week. And the players who get the best score in the Pentamind win the overall Pentamind trophy, which is what is heavily competed for by several players. And in fact, there's the MSO documentary on the Pentamind, which came out a couple of years ago. Well, about 5 years ago now, actually. But it's really good fun, the Pentamind. But anyway, I came sixth in the overall standings in 2020. Thought I did reasonably well. And then, and that's where the Carcassonne bit came in, because Carcassonne was on the schedule for the MSO, and I feel like anyone who plays any form of board games knows Carcassonne as a board game, and I knew it and was like, yeah, it's a reasonable 4-player game, I thought, and then found it was on the schedule as
that's blasphemy to say. Okay.
I know. Well, I didn't even rate it that highly as a multiplayer because when you just play base Carcassonne multiplayer, it's not the most exciting, perhaps. But on the schedule for the MSO, it was down as 2-player. Well, I think it actually was both. It was a 2-player and a 4-player. I was like, okay, the 2-player one, yeah, I'll give that a go. Like, let's see how that is. And I feel like I was working out like the strategy on the day for the first time. I was like, if I like defend this here, then I'm just creating a hole where that this tile fits, and then I'll hopefully get that tile, and then that'll complete this city for me. And doing all these calculations for the first time ever in a tournament. But surprisingly, probably with a fair bit of luck, I did reasonably well and made the quarterfinals of this tournament, and then went out at that point. But it got the attention of Dan Chard. Dan is 30, who's the UK captain, and he contacted me saying, we see you did well, would you like to join the UK team? And at that point, I didn't even know there was a UK team or a World Team Championship, but I was like, yeah, I'll come and join that. And then, that's when I started really taking Carcassonne a bit more seriously and started to learn about all the intricacies of it all. And it was way beyond what I was expecting, but I've had good fun at it. And now I would say, Carcassonne is one of my main games. So it's all because of the Mind Sports Olympiad and because I happened to do well in the first tournament I played in. If I'd done badly, who knows? I might not be here today.
Not only do you now have success in Carcassonne, you also have success in Fantasy Carcassonne.
Oh, yes.
Yes, because I've just been showing the standings here to our viewers, and because of Vineri's win today, and he was in your Fantasy 5, I believe, you actually just bumped up one spot, and you're now in shared thirds together with Johan. Now it's Kraft Giraffe is still crushing it. It actually will be quite hard to catch up with him, but he bet on players with screen names whose screen names start with a better M. So that has been working out for him greatly. Okay, we'll know that at least Mikhail Rus is not playing tomorrow. So that's something for everybody who can catch up. But Mars 15, I didn't check. Maybe he's not playing tomorrow either. So that could be actually. And well, several people can catch up. Your teammate is right here. He didn't bet on you, so I don't know how you feel about
that's
it.
fair enough. I think I'm the only person that bet on myself. That's all. So,
No. So
yeah,
I mean,
fair.
wait. Let's just check. Actually, I think somebody else picked you as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think there was like a little 2 next to statmatt. Oh no, it was only you. But of course, there are like
anyway.
multiple other players who bet on themselves as well, and you're doing the best out of those who bet on themselves. So that's
Well.
at least like a mini win.
Well, I think my main problem is that I've not played into the week in weeks 3 and weeks 5. I'm not playing tomorrow, so that's my main issue. I've been busy for our team's games, so I've lost out there. It's an impressive score though from Crafty Raph. He's quite far ahead, isn't he? So,
and it does look like it is just going to continue to grow. Now, Afonso was asking an interesting question. Wasn't the fantasy league supposed to start counting at round 3 only? That's an interesting idea. I didn't think of. No, but the idea was that the deadline was only the end of round 2 for a submission, and the idea is that if you submit your Fantasy 5 early, then you have the disadvantage of not knowing how the first 2 rounds played out, but you have the advantage of having the earlier timestamp of submission in case of all other tiebreakers being equal. Because as you see, there are some. Well, for example, Matt and Johan are here tying for third with 16 dual points and 20 and plus 24. That's net 24. Actually, won games. Well, that's actually really impressive, like for Fantasy 5 to just be 20-something, to have won 20-something games more than they have lost as well. Oh yeah, and I've already.
Yeah, I mean, well, it helps that I think I picked people. I took the maximum I could at the start by picking people who picked 1, 2 out of 2 in the first 2 weeks. So you're at 10 plus 10 on the duels at that point, but still good to be heading in the right direction since then.
Alrighty, well, I'm going to remove the Fantasy 5 results from the screen and we'll be slowly wrapping up. If you have any more questions about Team UK of Carcassonne or, I don't know, Matt's Carcassonne experiences or Carcassonne strategy or anything else that is somewhat related to our stream, you need to ask them in the next 15 seconds or so.
So will I be seeing you, Alexey, at the UKGE in a couple of weeks' time?
I think so, yes. The UK Carcassonne Championship is happening in 2-3 weeks, something like this.
First week of June, yeah. First Saturday in June.
Yes, I intend to participate as well. I'm also actually participating in it's not the UK Championship, but there's an Azul tournament going on. I just want to take every live Azul event that I can get. I don't know, Matt, can you lobby with using your connections, try to make it into an actual UK championship or something like this?
Yeah, I'll have to see what I can do. It tends to just be, you have to arrange with the publisher normally, and I've not got a contact for that one, I don't think, personally, but we'll have to see what we can do there. Because it would help, I guess, if there was also a World Championship in Azul, because Azul is a great game as well. You won congratulations on your silver medal from the Grand Prix this year. I think I was just behind you with bronze, but I feel like again, much like Carcassonne, you played a lot more games than me, and I'm sure if we'd actually met, then it would have been a win for you, I expect.
Alrighty, well, Samantha's asking, have you got a favorite tile?
It's the Rhodes Monastery because I think there's plenty to decide there. As in, the road, the monastery, and the field are all very viable options with that tile, and it's interesting to try and see, given the situation of the board, what is the best option for that tile. It really sort of separates out the skill level, I think.
Okay, that's great that we have you on stream because Elias is asking something to me, but you'll be able to actually clarify this. He's saying, have you discovered that you don't need to remember the discarded tiles in face-to-face Azul? And I know that like when you discard the tiles in Azul, you sort of throw them in the bag. Oh, no, not in the box. But are you actually like allowed to look in the box whilst you play? Because that would kind of look weird. And as the tournament organizer, like, would you count that as cheating, or was that like something that's actually acceptable by the rules?
I think I honestly can't remember what we did last year. I think, but if it's allowed in the rules, then it is usually absolutely fine to do that. I don't think we were allowing it last year. I honestly can't remember.
I don't think anybody was trying to do that really. At least, and not anybody of my opponents, and not me, because I just didn't think of it as an option.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely something that you will need to resolve as an organizer for sure. Because now that Elias has told me, I will attempt to do that if that allows. But also, actually, tile counting in Azul is less important than tile counting in Carcassonne. I got to 700 ELO without any tile counting. I started tile counting only to get from 700 to 800. Whereas, I mean, imagine getting to 700 in Carcassonne without tile counting. That's just like not possible. So.
Yeah, I would agree with that. My tile count, I still don't get to 700.
I guess one more question that I have to you, Matt, is, well, from me. Because you're both organizing the tournaments and playing them at the same time. I'm managing how you can manage to combine these things, especially like in those big events as the 2-day Carcassonne. And also, have you ever had a situation? So it's a double question. First of all, how are you able to combine it in terms of stamina and everything and not burning out? I don't know, or maybe you do burn out. We'll find out. And the second is, did you ever have a conflict of interest of being a participant and organizer? Did you have to, make a decision? Oh yeah, Matt's opponent ran out of time. Then we're going to victory to Matt, or something like this.
So the first part about stamina and difficulty. I did find it quite difficult this year playing in the MSO Grand Prix Carcassonne tournament online when it was over 2 days. There was quite a bit going on. I didn't do particularly well in it this year. They can sometimes feel like there's a bit too much to sort of do. And in fact, actually, I also ran. So last year was my first time running tournaments in person at the Mind Sports Olympiad, and I thought that it might impact me quite a bit having to, get asked questions. Basically, someone might come up to you during your game in person and be like, "Oh, I've got a question for my table." And then you'd have to leave your table and go and resolve it. And I'm like, if I'm in a deep game of Carcassonne, I really don't want that to happen, but I might have to do that. And that happened in Azul last year. And I came back and immediately blundered. I was like, oh, well, I think I've lost this game now because I was like, I must take these reds or whatever. And then I came back and didn't take them or whatever. But it can be tricky. But I was actually surprised last year. That Azul incident was the only one in the entire week where I was like, oh, I definitely lost out by being distracted by being an organizer there. Everything else went reasonably well. And then conflict of interest. Well, if there was anything involving me specifically, I'd have to get someone else to rule it.
Like your best buddy.
Mike Dixon at the MSO. I have to pull him in and be like, can you help me? But I did have to make a ruling on my brother last year at the MSO in person. Unfortunately, it was a situation that had been discussed by me and some of the other organisers pre-tournament, where if this situation happens, it was in the Lost Cities tournament, what do we do? And we'd already decided it was a certain outcome. So it meant that at least I knew that we'd already decided on the outcome, and it ruled against my brother. And then fortunately, my brother was also very understanding of the situation and did not complain at all with me. It was sporting for my brother to just accept the decision and move on, which was helpful. It certainly is some interesting situations that can arise and interesting questions that you get as being an organizer of the MSO for sure.
So now I guess we know the key to victory. All you have to do is you have to hire a buddy at the in-person MSO who's going to just bother Matt during his game and ask questions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it could definitely get me. I mean, yeah. I like to think that I'm very fair and can try and take myself out of the situation, even if I have a personal involvement in it. But I appreciate that not everyone might think that that's the case, and people might be skeptical of that. I would point to also the Carcassonne tournament we ran last summer, which you were present at. But the draw could not have been any harder for myself, I don't think. Where I had to play you in round one in an unseeded tournament, and then I had to have every game. I played all the top players at the start, and then had the easy games at the end because I played all the players who are sort of expert level on BJ in the first 6 or 7 rounds of this 9-round tournament. And I was like, yeah, it was you first, and then ever second, and then Wallace Prime third. And I was like, yeah, these will all be 3 of the top players in the room. I'm just playing the first 3 rounds.
Yeah, I just have one little follow-up to that. Let's say if somebody does ask you a question and you do get up, do you pause your clock or does your clock keep running?
I pause it. I say to my opponent, "I'm sorry, I need to go and look at something on another table," and essentially pause it. Yes. If anything, they will obviously gain an advantage because they can just sit there whilst I'm sorting out the other query and just look at the situation, look at the board, and I know tile count or whatever, depending on what game it is. That's just the way we do it. Yeah.
Right, so good to know that you can actually still at least not time out whilst you're playing.
Yeah, that would be pretty harsh otherwise. That would be a severe handicap otherwise.
Alrighty, well, we're going to wrap it up right here. I just need to remind my viewers several things. Of course, meeple the like button is quite important for the algorithm and for the positive emotions of the streamers. In case you're here for the first time and you like content like this, not only subscribe, but also click the bell icon, because I saw somebody in the chat was saying that, you didn't get notifications and stuff. That right, you need the bell icon, and you probably need to change something in your phone settings as well. There's going to be a lot of streams, and you want to keep track of those. Speaking of lots of streams, I have an announcement for tomorrow. I haven't yet set up the live stream for tomorrow, but tomorrow I will be streaming UK's game against Catalonia, and I will be streaming.
Come on, UK.
Yes. I was trying actually to get a British player to sort of well, actually I was tried both ways. I tried asking a Catalan player to root for Catalonia together, and I was trying to ask a British player to root for Team UK together, but it just so neither way worked out. So I guess I will just have to be boring, impartial, and fair as always. Yeah, so there's gonna be this, and after that I'm streaming Latvia versus Ukraine, absolutely a key match for my team, and it's also going to be an interesting match. I mean, these are two just quite strong, high-rated teams, and I haven't yet plugged in the ELO odds, but also the odds are quite close to 50-50 in that match. I don't remember to whichever side. I'm not playing myself because it's captain's strategic decisions, which shall not be discussed or questioned. But yeah, everybody needs a rest once in a while. So, and this is also the reason why I didn't announce the stream earlier, because, I mean, had everybody found out that I'm streaming Latvia versus Ukraine, people would have figured out that I'm not playing, and our opponents would have had time to adjust their lineup. So I see I have to navigate between being a streamer and being a team captain and a player myself. But yeah, it's going to be at 1600 UTC time, which is nobody's time zone. It's just the championship time zone. So I want to see you all there. Righty.
Great. Well, good luck to Latvia tomorrow.
Yes. Thanks
And
indeed.
yeah,
Good luck to Team UK. We will be watching. Not you, unfortunately, because you're not lined up. And yeah, all your teammates are super fast, so that will be a bit problematic. Maybe you could try convincing one of them to play a little bit slower, so that we have like a decider duel that we can save towards the end. Well, anyway.
I'll certainly pass on the message because it'll be my strategy advice anyway. So yeah, I'll try and point that out. Yeah, thank you for having me on tonight, Alexey. It's been good fun, and I hope all the viewers have enjoyed watching this more than Eurovision. And yeah, maybe see people at an MSO event soon. And yeah, have a good evening, everybody.
August, London, thanks so much for joining.
Yes,
Matt. And thank you so much for watching, and I'm gonna see you soon.